Welcome to a simSchool Fast Facts video. In less than 5 minutes, we'll tell you the basics that you need to know to understand teaching in simSchool. We'll log in and navigate to course content. We'll open a class and we'll look at the overview and resources and briefly teach in a class and observe different ways to do that. But know for more information, we recommend that you watch a simSchool Teach Aloud. They're available for you in your course on simSchool as well as on YouTube. It's a much longer video, but it gives more information on how to successfully navigate all the options available to you when you're teaching. Let's go ahead and log into simSchool. Now, when I first arrive in a module, it's really important that I read the overview and instructions and look at my lesson plan or any other information that's here. Now, there is a way for me to also access a lesson plan in several modules, but in case my browser has trouble with additional pop-ups, it's always here for me in overview and instructions, and my lesson plan is always available for me on resources as well. Now, what I'll usually do is open up that lesson plan and scan through it. Now, know that in anything other than the first tutorial modules that I do, the simSchool tasks that I have available to me are directly taken from this lesson plan, but it doesn't mean that I have to use all of them. And I can also use them in any order that I choose. That's up to me. How I scaffold them, the ones that I choose to repeat, those are all options that I can use. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to open up a particular class that I've worked with before. And I'll open up my teaching sim. Now in this particular class, I know that the lesson plan is about social stories. And working with this class several times, I've realized that there are a couple of different tasks that the students don't respond to very well. So I'm choosing when I teach this class again to not use them. That's up to me. So while I wait for this class to load, for myself, sometimes I'll make notes outside the simulation about how long I expect the students to be doing certain things. I'm reminded what my objectives are, and then I can click to start and the students will enter the class. Now my instructional tasks are always available to me under Teach. These are the things that are right out of that lesson plan PDF that was on the overview page for me. Remember, I can click here in most modules to access that PDF file again, but really I should have done it before I started teaching so I had an idea what I was getting into. Now we recommend don't necessarily jump right into the lesson plan. When you start your own class in the real classroom, you'd usually greet your students first, or maybe give them a time to do a self-regulation task like doodling at their desk or working on their breathing. Tasks like this work really well for students of any age, and they are things that you're going to be observed on, whether or not you give students time to transition before activities, whether or not when their behavior slides, or when they're saying, I'm bored, or can I do something else, that you're using these available classroom management strategies like using teacher face, or telling them that they should focus. These are things that you will be measured on, so don't hesitate to use them. And you can almost never give too much praise. So that's something that you can always do at any point too. The students can be working on another task, and you can use any of these things. So all of these are options that I can use while I'm implementing that lesson plan to help manage this class particularly well. Now know as well that on most lesson plans, there may be some additional tasks that aren't necessarily specific to that lesson plan that I might find here under instruction. And they might be things like doing an extra worksheet or listen to me while I explain the instructions again. Think of those things as being micro changes that you can make if students maybe are done and they need an extra challenge, or if they're really having trouble, I might go back and for an individual student, I might say, let's watch this video again, and I could do just that just for one student, or I could do it for a group of students. And for me, that's the best way to manage this particular lesson plan. Ahead of time, check and see what my options are going to be, review it once I start the class, and then the first couple of times that I teach, experiment with what strategies work the best for which students and what they're going to be the most responsive to. Now, once you start teaching, don't ignore moving around the class and trying to get eye contact from your students. Using proximity control is one of the most successful things that we can do to manage student behavior, and the students do respond to it. So if you choose the option to move about the classroom to monitor on-task behavior, you'll notice that the students will sit up. They might look at you more. They might have stopped working on something and they'll start working on it again. So they're responding as if you were walking table to table around the classroom. So don't forget to do this a couple of times while you're teaching. If you were in a real classroom, you wouldn't probably stay at the front of the room the entire time. So you shouldn't do that in simSchool either. You should always choose the option to move around the room. You should choose the option for giving praise. And when necessary, even look toward the accommodations and interventions, particularly for students that you see have an IEP or a 504 plan in their profile, and give them additional time or additional resources or supports that may be helpful for them. Good luck and have fun teaching in simSchool.